Thank you. Have a little bit of light. Thank you. Man, it's hard to figure. Coaches and people that I knew, I came across about 1.5 acres of land that he graciously allowed us to put our facility or our practice field on that piece of land. And so at this point, it's in its earliest development. We've already installed a sprinkler system in. We need to cultivate the ground, seed it this summer. Hopefully the grass grows by the time the cold gets here, so that we'll have grass next year. If you are in EST and United FC, this is where you'll have your own field to practice come next year. This time, you'll have your own practice field. Did you hear that?
Question number 1 is for children in soccer and any coaches in the audience watching. What advice would you give to them about soccer development?
Okay, well, I'm going to try and slow down. We've got the talks that he's called understand us because we have got a habit of speaking quite fast back home in Northern Ireland. But it's a pleasure to be here, first of all, in Hobbs. And great that Javier invited us out, Brittany, and the team. That's our wee nickname now we got for him, in case anybody's wondering. But I get the passion from these two, and you're very, very lucky to have these as a team, and Leonard listening to him. It was superb because my background is quite similar as well. I went to school at 16, only a couple of GCSEs in the name, which is what you call the exams back home in the UK. And a lot of things in life is sort of self-taught, and I had a passion of football and travel, putting the two together. That's why this week is perfect to come and see another place and meet some great people here as well. So no sort of sidetrack me with the question, but just to give a proper introduction, you know. So I mean, for me and Ryan to be here, it's excellent. What's playing in the background is my new club linked with SC Braga, which is a top professional club in Portugal. And you may have seen from the little intro at the start there, back home in Northern Ireland, football, or soccer, it's not perfect. There's an academy director of an Irish Premiership side called Lisburn Story. I spent 6 great years there under a great manager that was one of my mentors, but it was quite frustrating because there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do because I wasn't the boss. And unfortunately it came down to a lot of other people that had to go through and finance and so forth. And the problem we have back home is the lack of contact time that we have with our players. We may only maybe see them once or twice a week. And that was what this new project that we've been working on with Braga has tried to increase that contact time, that we're now getting the boys and girls coming in 4 or 5 times a week, and that we're providing everything from their soccer development, their conditioning training, they've got a skills coach, they've got an education and welfare officer, a pastoral care. So we try and provide everything for them at this club. It's more, you know, than football. As Leonard said, you know, it's perfect. It's great. Their life skills. I think in this day and age now, managers become more and more important. Please and thank you, you know, seem to be missing somewhat back home. And it's just simple things like this that we try and instill into our players. Because we won't always be remembered for the right reason. And you know, these players are brought up really well and they're a joy to work with back home.
Like I said, guys, the second question for Coach Tim would be, how do you define success with your players? Is it based off of winning and losing?
No, it's never done that. I mean, when you win a game of football as a coach, you enjoy it, but you always know that it's a long-term approach when working with kids. It's not 1 year, it's the development. So really for me, don't get me wrong, I want to win. I want the players, I want them to win because I mean that's the purpose of the game. But it's not the attention we turn to. We look for the long-term development of the players. The players all have a PDP, and a player passport. It's a player development plan. So each player will have a long-term goal, and that could be anything. It could be to play for Manchester United, to play for a company even big, and have that long-term goal. But at the same time, have short-term goals as well, to hit targets for it. That could be maybe my winner I put down during the month of September when the season kicks off. I want to score 2 goals. I want to have 4 assists. You know, so it's little targets like this, but we have to keep it realistic because he may be putting in some great crosses into the box, but the striker could be having an absolute off day. Couldn't hit a bar door, you know, so it's not the winner's fault, the winner's putting in a good ball, so you've got to keep it realistic as well. But it is nice because we've seen a lot of different things. The players doing the keepy ups, you know, a kid might be able to do 20 key ups. And although he might want to do 100, he's not going to go from 20 to 100 like that. You just give up. So we need to get them to keep it realistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you can do 20, can you do 25?
Right.
And then come in next week, Coach I've done 25, high five. So we set another target. Because of life, that's what we always work to. It's no different for kids as well.
Definitely set your.
You keep it healthy.
Definitely set your tier and then start climbing.
And then that means they've all got that it's on paper. Because the players are obviously the most important thing for us. But parents, you know, are quite closely the second most important thing. So we don't have the parents, we don't have the kids, we can't get them to training.
Yeah. So parents, we love you.
But all our sessions include the ball. So our philosophy is that the kids first of all enjoy it and that they're challenged and that they're always able to set new levels.
Excellent. And the final question that I'll go ahead and ask you is, because if you guys, I did have this question on here. I'm gonna just say it. Why did you start TW Academy? If you guys want to know the answer to that question, go to his page. You can Google it, www.twacademy.com.org. Sorry. And it'll pop up. You'll be able to really read why Coach Tim went ahead and started this, okay? Started his academy, etc., and the frustration he had in Ireland, all right? So I'm going to move on to this question. What advice can you give to our kids about training? How important is it?
It's so important. You've got to do it, but you've got to. It's not a case that you don't want to think, I've got to go to train. You've got to want to go to training because you want to enjoy it, and that's probably a big responsibility as coaches that we have. You know, we've got to challenge it. We've got to create that environment that they can't wait to get to training. They want to be a trainer.
Yeah.
We have that with our players because before players that have just joined us from other clubs. That this has been videos. I'm not going to name those clubs because they're pretty like YouTube. But we had some players that were hiding their boots. Or as you say here, cleats. Because they just weren't enjoying the experience when they went to the clubs. But what we have is a platform that they love to come. They can't get enough training. So they're out training continually, even on those wet nights as well. Apologies about last night because I think that was our responsibility, bringing the rain and storing the Hobbs. But, I can't stress how important the training is. But I think if you treat it as well as a social thing, it's great football. Football just brings the world together, it really does. And we're here the other side of the world, and it's amazing. It feels before we met for the first time properly. Say like about Facebook, but it's Facebook and YouTube, social media, has brought us together. And just even looking and reading your statuses, and Brittany, I can see the strength in your relationship and your faith and the hunger as well here from Leonard tonight as well. I got excited sitting down that city. Hearing these plans is great. So you see how I come and live here. And if you're getting that excitement, you're lucky to be in the programme and enjoy it. It's such a positive thing, yeah.
And pretty soon these guys are going to move here, so FYI, right? More of like the first team, what you would look at as because you're a manager, right? You lead them, you look at them, everything. He's got all the roles that you see, roles like Alex Ferguson?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less? Like Fergie, is he like... Oh yeah? Less pressure. If you don't know who Alex Ferguson is, go Google it. Okay, Google Alex Ferguson. Okay, or as Leonard would say, Google it. Okay, so make sure you go and do that. With that being said, Ryan, our first question is, what are the most important skills a player should master in hopes of becoming a top player?
I'm just looking at these questions, and I think one of the parents asked me a question today, and just nodded at him, so I'm going to have to roll these questions now. So, basically, what Tim had said, he's going to be an interview there, he's talked the whole programme through, the whole philosophy, the whole way the game works, but in my job, what I do every time a different route, and there's loads of male coaches and male teams back home in Ireland, and the route I went down whenever I stopped playing was there wasn't enough elite coaches for the female team, so I went down that route, and for 18 years now, since I was since I was 16, I've started to do my coaching badges and then go down the route of coaching girls soccer. And I've been very fortunate, very humbled and very privileged to have coached some great players for my international team, and also when I was in America coaching for the Boston Renegades, I actually coached against Alex Morgan, Hope Solo. I've played or coached against a few of them. I know my wee mate down here. I was keeping her going, but it's been good. The skills that I look at in the women's game is a lot different than what you look at in the male game, because obviously different characteristics from the female body, the male body. I think girls actually listen more than what
Very true.
boys do, so they can take their instructions very, very well. So I suppose they have to be a good listener to start, because once they pick up the coach's philosophy, the coach's technique, then all of a sudden you build that sort of rapport and bond. And I think if you build a bond up with the female athlete, and you get a good rapport off them, you're going to achieve good things. And I've been very fortunate that the lady teams that I've coached have been successful and built a decent enough CV there. So yeah, good listener. Girl soccer players are great athletes as well. They look after themselves very well. So athletically, there's not much that they have to do there. You can just concentrate on the ball and the tactical side of the game. Maybe mentally, pressure, how girls deal with pressure. They've got their exams, big matches. I suppose that's a route that I went down and concentrate a lot on sports psychology to get me through there. So yeah, there's loads of skills, and it just depends really on the team that I coach at that time, and what they need and what characteristics I need to bring to the table.
Excellent. Just answer question number 2 really quickly if you can. Maybe broaden it however you like, but what are the 3 characteristics you look for in a soccer player, whether it be male or female?
Yeah, so all coaches are different. I must stress that point. Obviously, me and Coach Tim's characteristics and philosophies are more or less the same, and that's why we obviously have the good bond that we have together. And the characteristics that we look like. We talk about the 4 components in the game. I think Leonard actually touched on in the speech. We talked about it. We look at the technical characteristics of what the player can do, whether it be passing, shooting, heading the ball, stuff like that. So we look at technically, we look at tactically. And tactically comes at a different stage in the player's timeline. Whenever they're young players, they focus a lot technically. Pardon me. And whenever they get older, in the 12 to 14 age group, the 16 to 18 age group, we go tactically. And then we focus on the physical aspect the whole way through, and then mentally, as they get older, how do they deal with mistakes, how do they deal with success, and how do they deal with different scenarios in their life and in their timeline. So, so they're the characteristics that we watch. Pardon me. So that's the characteristics, and that's the model we go with.
What advice would you give to a child that plays soccer very well but wants to try other sports? I know my answer on that one. Do you encourage kids to try multiple sports or to stick with the one they are good at?
I must admit, I'm a big fan of multi-sports, because I feel that kids in different sports, components can come across the other sports. For me, in terms of the football aspect, we had a kid back home, and he didn't like this being too well known. He's a very good Irish dancer, and he was a little boy, so he didn't want his teammates to know this. And I started working with this kid when he was 6 and 7, and just how quick his feet were. Couldn't understand it, and I happened to say to his mum, does he do any other sports? And she says, yeah, he's an Irish dancer. So, he didn't like his teammates to know this, but his feet were so quick doing this Irish dancing. And gymnastics is great, martial arts is great, swimming, they're just super, because you can see the characteristics of other sports can transfer over. I used to actually have a hockey coach that used to come along and watch my own sessions, because they were able to transfer my football sessions over to the hockey sessions. I'm a fan of multi-sports. I think as well, because kids, when they get this sort of more their teenage years, when they're maybe making decisions a little more for themselves, if they've tried different sports, they can select the sport that they like best, and I'm sure that other characteristics of that sport can transfer over. If it's soccer, so it's perfect.
You, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with him. I can see where all the coaches come from. All the elite players are you know, we talk about the apple pie, you know, everybody wants a piece of it if you're a good player, you know, so if you're a good basketball player, you're a good soccer player, you know, you have to split yourself in two, as well as doing your homework, your social life, whatever it may be, you know, so I understand that, but yeah, I'm all in favour of it, to be honest, because we actually had a goalkeeper that plays basketball, pardon me, you know, we had a goalkeeper that plays basketball, and that's only going to benefit her, you know, in the long run with her having coordination skills. So I've always been a fan of it, and there is different opinions, and people have different opinions, you know, but it's if the players enjoy it, you know, you can't hold them back. They'll make their choice whenever the time's right, and hopefully it's the right one for them.
And let's go back there, relax for a little bit, and drink some Coke. Thank you again.